Hello and welcome to Back to the Boardroom. I'm Greer.
And I'm James.
And this week it's been all about cereal. Now, I don't know if you're a cereal connoisseur, James, but I'm not. But I do remember when I was in the age bracket of 6 to 8, cereal was such a big thing in my life.
I do like a bit of cereal.
To this day.
Yeah, I have evolved into a bit of a porridge person. Maybe that's just showing my age. But cereal's still on the cards.
Would you go down the cereal aisle at the supermarket and would you ever be tempted by a Cocoa Pop or a Rice Krispie or something from the children's section?
I do enjoy a Cocoa Pop. Although I don't really go to the supermarket deliveries. So.
He's just so posh and adult these days.
I feel like going to the supermarket is bad because I spend more than I should.
That's true, and you could be enticed in by a brand new product, but I don't think it would be a problem if you were looking at any of these products on the shelves this week that they came up with.
No.
What a mad task.
It certainly didn't save Arctic. Trying to do a pun there on Arctic Saviour.
Oh, you've got to be a real Apprentice fan to get that pun.
Yeah. It was lost on most people and it was potentially just bad. So apologies. But I do want to get two things out the way quickly, Greer.
Go for it.
Firstly, the narrator update. So I've got some numbers for you. I don't think there was too many numbers this week. So we had 7 different hours, all of which were distinct, I believe. We had 4 a.m., 10 a.m., 7 p.m., 7 a.m., 2 p.m., 5 p.m., and 6 p.m. So certainly totting up those numbers. I always think they wake up at 4 a.m.
It feels like it. That's something that you hear on all of those Do You Want to Be a Millionaire podcasts, which we're certainly not one of those. You've got to get up at 4 a.m., have a cold shower, and then eat some matcha or something.
Sounds about right. And then my other very quick topic was the secretary segment. Incredibly boring. Same charts as last week. I feel a disciplinary coming along.
Really, you're going to report her to HR, are you?
Absolutely.
So shall we get on to talking about this week's task? Because there is a lot to talk about. There were loads of different elements. So the candidates had to all meet up at the Savoy, which I thought was a very random place. And they needed to create a children's cereal for 6 to 8-year-olds with an augmented reality part to it, a brand, host a launch event, and then pitch to potential clients. But they also had to come up with a cereal character. Now, before we sort of talk about the cereal characters that they came up with this week, I wanted to just ask you, do you remember being drawn in by the characters when you were younger? And do you remember toys? Because in Lord Sugar's sort of discussion at the beginning, he said, just gone are the days of finding a toy in a cereal box. The children want augmented reality. The cereal toys, a highlight. I wouldn't have wanted augmented reality. I wanted a physical toy, like a Happy Meal.
I can remember toys being a thing, but I just can't remember what I got. And the character which enticed me the most, I think, would have to be probably I don't know if he has a name. It's the Frosties tiger.
What do you mean what do you mean does he have a name? That Tony the Tiger.
Tony, okay. It's been a while. I haven't had a Frosty in ages.
Well, let's get on to the real topics for today. Project managers this week. People are feeling the pressure, aren't they? If they haven't been put forward yet, they're wanting to do it now, which is why we saw Phil and Sam battle it out to be the project manager. Now, Phil, we've been backing Phil for a long time. It was between Phil and Sam. Sam, I enjoyed because she was saying that she's sort of a mummy business. She's called the Mummy Motivator on Instagram. Her business is all about children. And I did enjoy the fact that she said parents are very big in making sure their kids eat cereal. But she also said, and making sure their kids have food in general, which made me laugh. I was like, Yes, I could have told you that one.
Steve was the chosen one, apparently.
He said, my nieces and nephews have been hammering through the serials as a reason for him to be PM. Now, this is when they started coming up with some interesting ideas, didn't they? They talked about space, they talked about healthy, and someone, I think your winner, Maura, started talking about Arctic.
The Arctic, yes.
Where do you think that came from? It seemed very random.
Yeah, I don't know. Did they do something to do with water last week? Oh, the other team based their Formula E team on like the ice. A cold place with water. Maybe that spurred on some ideas.
Yeah, maybe a climate change link. She was thinking about the poor polar bear that's stuck on the tiniest, iceberg going. I do want to slightly bring it back to one of the things that we look at every week is whether Lord Sugar actually turns up to the task description at the beginning. And this week, he wasn't there again. They went to the Savoy. Weird. The narration said, the Savoy has scrumptious rooms. Thought that was like a food adjective, but oh well. And Lord Sugar wasn't there, but he was on a box and in augmented reality. Is that good enough?
Not really. And to be honest, really off topic, I'm disappointed we didn't see Gordon because he has a restaurant at the Savoy.
Oh, Mr. Ramsay, Chef Indeed. Ramsay.
So, where were you, Gordon?
Probably not wanting to take part in this for a small fee. He's probably quite expensive.
Probably, yes. But yeah, I was disappointed with Mr. Sugar, Sir Sugar, Lord Sugar.
Mr. Sir, that feels like a dig, doesn't it? Mr. Sugar.
His attendance rating is not up to scratch, I'm sorry.
Do you think that's because he's really busy as a businessman, or it's very early in the morning and he's still in bed?
I think he's probably in bed.
I think he's reading the newspaper, having a continental breakfast and an espresso somewhere.
Prior to the massage. Now it's time for the elevator pitch. As many of you know, this is the part of the show where myself and Greer have 60 seconds on the clock to present our idea for this week's challenge to you, the listeners, and to Lord Sugar, also a listener, maybe.
While he's getting his massage.
Reading the newspaper and listening to James and Greer pitch their ideas.
So, who wants to give it a go first this week? You said you're feeling confident.
I'm ready. I'm raring to go.
Okay, I'll get the timer.
Put that
so
on the
excited.
Clock.
If you are listening currently on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you need to have a look at our YouTube because James just had the biggest smile on his face. I'm concerned I'm definitely going to lose this week. Right.
Well, I've hyped myself up now, so I can only disappoint.
I mean, I hope so, because mine isn't great. Are you feeling ready then?
I am ready. I'm going to have to talk fast because I always run out of time. So
okay.
Let's...
Well, 60 seconds on the clock. Ready, James? Go.
Let's go. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go for chocolate and banana. Great combination. Probably a bit sugary, but it's got a bit of fruit. And they're going to be flakes, kind of like Frosties. Don't know why, but we're going to have a giraffe mascot because I guess chocolate and banana, brown and yellow, similar to a giraffe. Could call it like Jerry the Giraffe or something, or giraffe hooves. I don't know. Anyway, the strong colours on the box really stand out. And where we get to the main bit is the AR game. So the more... there's 5 mini games, and you have to buy more cereal to get different QR codes to unlock these different mini games. Once you've unlocked all 5, you get a bigger game where it's like, a spaceship thing where you shoot things and get a score and get power-ups, and the top player each month wins a prize, like a free day out or something.
Oh my goodness, you have come up with so much in terms of the games.
I just got it all in.
Wow, okay. Free day out is good. That reminds me of the Blue Peter badge back in the day.
I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but creative
Why not?
license and all.
That was comprehensive, which is definitely not what we're going to call mine after my 2 seconds.
Greer, are you ready for your
No.
60 seconds? No?
I'm not,
Well,
no.
I'm going to start the clock anyway.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
So for my cereal brand, it's inspired by something I used to do as a child. I was really obsessed with the Disney animated film 101 Dalmatians. So my dad used to mix Cocoa Pops and Rice Krispies in the same bowl, so it would look like a Dalmatian. So I thought, carry on that theme, but use those boulder type ones, is what they called them on the task this week. A chocolate boulder and a sort of white normal coloured boulder. Chocolate flavour, I'm not going healthy. Box is going to be sort of bright blue with a Dalmatian puppy on it. Looks quite cute, a bit like Disney, but not too much. In terms of augmented reality, I haven't gone as mad as you have. I was just thinking of like a fun walk the dog game. You can walk them around different places, parks, places in the city, landmarks, things like that. I was trying to think of a name as well. All I could come up with was like Kennel Crunch, but that sounds like Kennel Cough. Don't know, but I might go with it anyway. It's slightly alliterative. I didn't know how Dalmatian you could make it though because of Disney, but I do think that would be quite
fun. That's not bad. You sold it to me as you were going to completely flop this week, and I thought that was decent.
Yeah, well, thanks. I didn't have as much on the augmented reality, but we made it work.
I really liked the mix of the white chocolate and milk chocolate boulders, as you put it.
Yeah, I thought that.
Nice.
Originally, when you were eating the actual mix together in the little variety packs, if you remember those, when you got like a loads in a pack. That's what a variety pack is.
You get 10 mini boxes. Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, so I used to mix half in the side of the bowl was Cocoa Pops, half as Rice Krispies. They'd slightly merge and everything would turn into Cocoa Pops once you put the milk in. But it was fun. So
I don't know why, but I always preferred Ricicles to Rice Krispies. Don't know what the difference is.
Are Ricicles just off-brand Rice Krispies, or was there another brand called Ricicles?
I think there is Ricicles. I think Ricicles had more sugar. It's like cornflakes versus Frosties.
Oh, why would you get cornflakes when Frosties exist? Shall we have a look at some of our top moments of the week? Because there are so many. Because there were so many elements of the task. We had everything from recipes to logos to names, packaging boxes, augmented reality, taste tests, children's reaction, pictures, and then obviously later in the boardroom. But there were just so many parts. And talking of parts, I have to say that my favourite moment, unfortunately, was when they were trying to draw a polar bear character with the designer, and for some reason, the polar bear had an appendage. No one brought it up, but there was there, in between the polar bear's legs. Everyone was too busy looking at the crown, the t-shirt, and the backpack, but all I could see was a furry appendage.
I didn't notice that.
How did you not notice?
I was too busy looking at the crown, obviously.
Obviously. As soon as I saw that, I couldn't see anything else.
I don't even know, because like I picked up on the fact that they said that I think someone asked isn't the polar bear going to have trousers? And they were like, nah, don't think trousers. I think that was Moira. She was like, nah, we don't need trousers. But I
imagine it was meant to be the polar bear's tail, but they could have put it on the side, not in between the legs. That's all I could think of, and I thought this really isn't suitable for a children's cereal. But there you go. If we thought the strange polar bear that they called Arctic Prince for a bit was weird, what did you make of them wanting to come up with sort of a strong female role model, which is great, but Raj said she wanted it to be like Tomb Raider, less great, and then they called it Mega Bella.
Mega Bella.
What did you think of that name?
Yeah, it doesn't speak strong to me. And I'm sure in the briefing they were like, we don't want any capes or stereotypical stuff. And the cape went on straight away. So I was a bit confused, and I thought, immediately they've strayed far from the brief.
Yeah, I thought that. I was a bit disappointed that Lord Sugar stole my observation of saying it sounded like Marbella. But I'm also now worried that I think the same way as Lord Sugar. So I don't know what to make of that. Also
Could
reminded me of
make you a lot of money.
Megabus. Didn't really like that.
Make it bust.
Don't think children would be very kind if you were trying to, in the playground, if you were called Megabella. I think that would be sort of a bullying nickname. I didn't enjoy it at all. One thing I do love is when they are trying to come up with flavorings on these tasks, because all notion of what tastes nice seems to go out the window. And what did you make of Phil completely ignoring the expert's suggestion when it came to putting the amount of passion fruit and pineapple and banana in, and he just went rogue?
Yeah, I thought he must know better. if he's
It's very kind
coming,
of you.
if he's coming out with that, he's gotta. That's bold, That I thought if he gets this wrong, he's gone. But yeah, I mean, I could see it coming a mile away that there was going to be issues, and indeed there was.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, Phil is the one that brought them as well. Later on, something that we see quite a lot of on this show, especially this season, is the candidates having to make a fool of themselves in front of the camera to be in a promotional video. And obviously this week we've talked about augmented reality. And we had Noor sort of dressed up trying to read a script, and it really made me laugh when she said, "Is it gens instead of gems?" As if gens was a real word.
Gen Z, innit?
Another bit about the design that I wanted to bring up, which obviously the box and not having the cereal on the box was a bad move, but no one really seemed to talk about the fact that when they wrote Polar Crunch, the way that they wrote Crunch was so, like, you just could not read it at all. And because we'd noticed earlier that there was a interesting addition to the polar bear itself, my boyfriend made an observation and said, have they written Polar Crotch? Which I thought needed airing on the podcast this week.
It was awful. I'm sorry. The crunch. I thought out of the two, I was very impressed actually at the idea to superimpose the hoops on the logo. I thought that actually looked quite decent.
It was passable, wasn't it? It was fine. I did enjoy in that though. Steve said, "Oh, can we just make sort of the outline on the letters a bit bolder?" And I think it was Raj that immediately came in and was like, "We don't have time for that. Let's not talk about that right now."
Whereas again, like Flo was really on the time trend, and it was the edit made it seem like Sam was really taking time over like the positioning of the wording before anything else was on there.
But they must have been really pushed for time, because it seemed that there's loads of elements. The episode itself seemed to go by really quickly. In about 10 minutes, I was like, "Oh, we're already doing the augmented reality, aren't we?" And we've worked out our characters, our name, and our serial type. So it went by quite quick. So maybe they were very short on time, but I think that's where some of the mistakes obviously were coming from, the lack of time.
I think it was quite funny when Paul was in the suit and doing the, dancing. Moira was really getting into it. I found that quite funny. And it actually put a smile on the designer's face as well. So they obviously had some fun there.
I think that was actually quite a triumph, really, the sort of dance moves and stuff, because when the children who were the focus group actually looked at that, some of them were joining in. Others said, "Oh, it's a bit babyish." You kind of get to that age and think, "Oh no, it's too, I'm old and grown up now." But some of them are really enjoying it and were copying the moves and everything. So actually, I thought that was kind of okay. Whereas Megabella really didn't go down well with the children in the focus group.
I think the focus group is always a good moment for me, because I always like the genuine reactions, and they're often brutal. Maybe less so from the kids, but I guess it's unfiltered. It's what they actually think, which is mostly that it tastes horrible, or it's boring, or something along those lines.
I'd quite like a child focus group on pretty much every task on The Apprentice. Show them the logo, show them the silly videos, show them whatever the products are, because they are unfiltered and they'd be brutal and they'd say what we are all thinking and get away with it.
And now we go back to the boardroom this week, where our two teams were going to be told how much orders they got or how many units they sold.
I really wasn't sure how this was going to go, because obviously they pitched to some of the clients, Ocado, Waitrose and everyone else, and I thought they'd hate both of them. But there was a moment when a client asked for an exclusivity deal with one of the teams, which is incredibly risky, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be pulled off or not. What did you make of that? Did you think it was the right thing at the time, before we knew the result, the right thing to do?
Before we knew the result, I genuinely thought 200,000. I thought that's a big number. You just got to go. I think stick with your gut feeling and go with it. And I don't want to say it because I sound like I got it right, but I really thought that would have won it for them.
It took the pressure off, though, didn't it? After that one sort of negotiation, they were like, oh, great, we're done now. But then I guess it did put the other clients in an awkward position, but because it was such a big number, I probably would have accepted it as well.
Yeah, I think they made a big thing about no one else wanting to buy it, but actually, like, that's the whole thing about exclusivity, right? You've got that massive initial sale, so good on them.
It was pretty good, especially when Lord Sugar told us that the other team only sold around 7,000 units. A big difference in the numbers. And I think he sort of said, did he say that this was sort of a record for The Apprentice? Or it's very rare to have that big of a number come in? So
he did, yeah. He said it was rare, so kudos to them.
I wasn't sure who was going to get brought back in, but I was surprised that Flo wasn't brought back in, because she was hurrying up the discussions in the design of the box. And one of the reasons that they spoke about was not having a bowl on there. And I think she said, didn't she, that don't worry, just put some of the fruit on there. So she kind of made the decision, but Sam brought back Maura in because of the creation of the character. But I did think her augmented reality actually was a good thing about this task.
Yeah, I don't want to dig, but I wasn't happy with Moira. I think she flip-flopped a bit. Before she knew she was being brought back in, she was very positive about the AR, the augmented reality piece. And I think, unless I'm remembering this completely wrong, I think she was like, fair play to Verdi and Paul for a good job done. And then completely changed her tune and backtracked, saying the dance and the AR stuff was rubbish.
Yeah, she did. I'm not really sure why she did that. Maybe because I didn't really think the augmented reality was brought up as a failure for the task at all. It was just the creation of the character. So I think maybe it was the pressure of the boardroom. But in the end, I guess it's a game and some people are ruthless, so they can swap around their stories, Yeah, that was a bit odd. But I do think Sam was correct in bringing back Phil, because he made the cereal taste of absolutely nothing, because he sort of thought he knew better than the expert. But one thing about Phil, she did say the reason that he was being brought back was because he was disruptive, and he really took offense to that.
I mean, from what I saw in what we're shown, that didn't add up. I think yes, he should have been brought back, as you say, because the flavors was a massive mistake and potentially one of the main points of why it failed. But I don't know about the disruption argument. Maybe it's something that we didn't see, but yeah, a bit confused on that one.
I guess in the end, Lord Sugar thought Phil can stick around and Sam is the one to go. And I was shocked. I thought it was Phil. He is very lucky to still be in. He hasn't had a win at all. And he's still here. And he's not even been made project manager next week because he's already done it, as we found out.
Exactly. And that's why I sort of had an inkling. I thought he might go because he's already been project manager, lost there. So I doubt he would be made project manager again. But yeah. And the food tasks always seem to go so bad. I actually want Phil to make us some food or to get on the show and send us a pie or something.
Yes.
Consider
we'll
this your
see.
invitation. The treat this week is interesting because it was a kind of newish style fairground arcade place, which I have been to.
No way.
Yeah, it's called Fair Game, and there are multiple, I think, in London. I actually went to the one in Canary Wharf 3 weeks ago. So
that's so funny.
Pretty fresh in my mind. If you cast back to the episode, I think they showed you playing, because they have, I think it's 8 games or something. I was absolutely rubbish. So they had whack-a-mole, which it felt like I'd been to the gym after doing that. The horse racing one, though, I actually won. I have a pink fluffy bear because
Amazing.
I beat a certain record, not just one, but beat not a high score, but a threshold in which you get a free bear.
Oh my God.
Yeah, funnily enough, I don't have it. One of my friends who I went with, because I didn't want to take a massive pink fluffy bear on the train back with me, because I had no bag and he did. So he also listens to this podcast. Hello. So
do you want your pink bear back?
I want my pink bear back, Adam.
Now it's time for the Apprentice News, the part of our podcast where I've been scouring the internet so you don't have to, looking at some awful tabloid newspapers and having a look at candidates' profiles on Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere else. And this week we have had some really good behind-the-scenes info, which you know that we like on this show, from Rachel, who is still in the competition. She's quite a quiet one, so she could get quite far, but she has cleared up some of the questions that we've been talking about throughout the weeks. So are you ready to find out some more interesting facts about The Apprentice?
I am. Fire away.
Now, this is one we've sort of guessed from the buying task, because we think, why on earth are they not asking someone? Why don't they Google it? Apparently, they do not have access to the internet. Which, I mean, it sounds like at all. Obviously in the tasks, but do they have access to the internet when they go back to the house? I mean, you'd hope so. But she also said, we don't have calculators, which I think we've picked up on because sometimes their maths is very bad. They're not allowed to ask any questions to members of the public. They cannot talk to the public at all, but they can't ask any questions to Karen or Tim. She also said that they do have something in the suitcases that they take out of the boardroom with them. Now, I thought they didn't because they just wheel them out with such ease, it looks like there's nothing in them. But they do, because apparently once you leave the boardroom, you leave the process straight away and have to go. So you apparently have to take a change of clothes for the hotel that you're going to stay in because you don't go back to the house at all. Huh. I wonder what that means for the stuff that you've got in the house. I don't know how that works. Someone must clear it out.
A runner has to come and clear up your your dirty
Fold
laundry.
Lovely dirty washing. And then also, we've spoken before about the power dressing in the bright colours, but apparently there's actually a rule that they're not allowed to wear black and white because it's bad for filming. It doesn't look so great on camera, apparently. So that's the reason why they're all wearing different colours in the boardroom, which it finally answers what that's all about. And this is what we've said would be really hard. They're not actually allowed to talk to their family for very long while they're in the process, which, if you've got children or just with anyone, it must be really hard. So Rachel says that you can speak to them, but it's as little as every 10 to 14 days. And only then you can speak to them for about 10 minutes. You're not allowed all the time in the world to speak to them. I wonder why. This must also prove that they don't have the internet in the house, because you could speak to your friends and family for as long as you want, and like on instant messaging. That makes you sound like 700. Text messaging. It's not any better. Looking at the candidates' profiles, if you haven't had a look at them, have a look on Instagram. We're at Back to the Boardroom if you want to see behind the scenes clips and other things from us. But do look at the candidates' profiles, because they have some really interesting bits going on, and they go live and you can ask them questions about the episode as well.
So something I did want to follow up on for Apprentice news behind the scenes, etc. So something my partner said to me while we were watching the episode, and this is at the start, they get the 4 a.m. ring, 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 and then they normally say they have 20 minutes to get ready. And basically, Joe just said to me they wouldn't be sat curling their hair if they had 20 minutes.
It's true. Yeah, I do think they must think, right, we're going to get the call at 4, but we're going to have to get up earlier, because they all look, well, the women, they all do their hair. It's always styled. They have makeup on that looks like it's taken a long time because it's always perfect. Those perfectly ironed, colourful suits and high-heeled shoes and stuff and accessories. I mean, it looks like they've gone to the makeup trailer, doesn't it? I always think, God, if I was getting up at 4, I'd just shove my hair in a bun and go.
But I don't know, is that the case, or is the 4 a.m. 20-minute a bit of a fallacy?
I would like to know as well, because we're just talking about getting ready and like doing your hair or your makeup or whatever and putting your clothes on. But I would want to get up and have a shower. I cannot have a shower, get changed, eat something, however small, and look presentable enough for television in 20 minutes at all. I don't think I can even shower in 20 minutes.
You probably can.
I don't like to. One thing we should say, talking about candidates, is that last week we spoke about Raj during the video part of the task, creating a marketing video, and we were like, what on earth is she doing? She's wearing a coat on top of her head. And now I asked her, because I needed to know. It was just so random. I was like, does she not want to be seen here anymore? And she kindly replied on Instagram saying it was supposed to be for sound quality, but now in reflection, it was to make me look silly. So maybe she feels a little bit let down that she did that and didn't realize how bad it would look on camera. But it was funny for us. We enjoyed it. And who knows, maybe it affected the sound quality a little bit.
Exactly. Thank you for getting in touch, Raj. And I've reminded me, I know I keep saying one more thing, but one more thing. We've had now, actually it's 2 more things, sorry. So Verdi and Phil are now 6 losses in a row, which they're actually joint winners. No one has had 7 losses in a row in the history of The Apprentice. And we have only had 6 in a row once on series 12. So they're record breaking in their own way.
They've won something.
Exactly. And the converse of that, we've got the Power 4 with 6 wins in a row. And they even are Faluso, Nor, Rachel and Raj. So going under the radar, but they could be potential for winning.
This episode was just so fun because of the so many different elements. I loved it. I cannot get enough of the design. I hope they do more. But next week it's going to be something different again, so we can't laugh at logos. They're heading off to Budapest and doing a bespoke tour. And I heard one of them singing a Budapest song or something that they made up on the tour in the little preview. It sounds bad, but I'm still looking forward to it. Do you have a final thought for us this week, James?
I do, and I'm not sure if anyone knows the answer or if it's happened before, but I was interested to know why we saw this episode. the taxi twice. We had the leaving of last week's candidate at the beginning, which I don't know if that has been done before.
Interesting. Did we see them go into the taxi last week? There was a week where they didn't show it.
No, they didn't last week. So they did it at this at the start of this week's episode. And
Very
I'm intrigued
strange.
why. Was the episode too long?
We can have a think about that and try and come up with a good answer. If you can think of it, let us know in the comments on our Instagram at Back to the Boardroom. Please follow us and also subscribe on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And we'll be back next week talking about Budapest. We'll see you then.
Bye.